Um, I'm a third generation Californian. One great grandfather came from the East Coast around South America by ship, and the other one came across the plains. Um, I was born in Berkeley, California, and my mother before me in the same hospital. I had a really tough, iron fisted grandmother who was confined to her house pretty much from a car accident. Um, and my parents met at University, California at Berkeley. Uh, Actually, they met at Yosemite where they were working for the summer, but they were both going to college. So I came from a family that expected college, not a lot of money, wrong side of the tracks in Berkeley. Father an alcoholic who got sober when I was 4. And they always aspired to the standard American dream, their own house. And they got that finally in a senior development. Um, well, first in a suburban development called Sherwood Forest with faux Tudor style houses. And I never felt like I belonged in that more conservative environment. I don't mean politically, because they were always more liberal, but what I later called the straight people. I never felt at home there. I couldn't wait to get out of the suburbs. And in fact, I went to University of California at Santa Barbara, then studied in France for a year. I never wanted to get married because married equals stifled. Just someone else mentioned something like that. Uh, and I wanted, I was a bohemian at heart. I mean, in my generation, we didn't call bohemians were just before us. I was just after uh, the black berets and turtlenecks and of the bohemian era here. Uh, and I became a hippie. Well, first I went to France for a year. I came back and finished at UC Berkeley. I stayed with my parents in Moraga, their little townhouse, and again felt so stifled, didn't know quite where to go. But my life led me, after being a foreign language tour guide in San Francisco, led me to Marin County, to Sausalito, and I felt my heart almost explode. It was so gorgeous. It looks like a Mediterranean town. And I got to move there. I found the No Name Bar. I found an apartment to rent. I moved there. And that was it. I found friends who were living on the edge and became a hippie and moved out to the country and started a commune after travel. Oh, and then I met somebody, a French woman, and I traveled around the world at age 25. Part of it with her, part of it just whoever I picked up on what we called the hippie trail. It was, well, everything had been mind opening, living in France and then traveling, being a hippie and being part of that explosion of hope. That's what I think of that era as. We really hoped we could change the world, and we believed it. I came back, I settled in Berkeley, and I met people who were also on the edge politically and theater. We did street theater for a while. I got into the massage world, and I've never worked for anybody, not since I was 18 or some summer where I worked for a company. I've always created my own businesses. Starting in Sausalito, I designed dresses, and that didn't work out, but I became affiliated with the early Renaissance fair and made Renaissance clothes and supported myself before I went around the world. And when I came back, I got into the massage world, and this whole era of holistic healing was developing. So I dove in like I do with everything in my life. I just dove in and taught massage, and then discovered a wonderful method called Traeger, uh, movement education. We called it Traeger psychophysical integration then of mind body. We were the early people working with the mind body connection in the 70s. And that was my life for 30 years. I traveled around Europe teaching, and North America, Canada, taught in French, learned Italian, taught in Italian. Uh, and all the time I had these demons in my head telling me I wasn't enough and criticizing myself. And so looking back, I had a wonderful life, but I didn't know it then.
Mm.
I was never going to get married, but I met a man at Esalen Institute, which is a humanistic growth institute on the California coast in Big Sur. We never would have met otherwise. He was a doctor. He'd had his mind opened up a bit by Gregory Bateson, philosopher, first husband of Margaret Mead. He was a patient of Michael's. Michael was my husband. We met there, and we were together from the day we met. And one day we had bought a house together in Mill Valley 2 years after we met. In the hot tub with his children visiting, he asked me to marry him with a ring from a beaver ring from MIT that was a napkin ring. And the kids didn't realize it. They thought he was joking because he got on his knee in the hot tub. But what went through my mind was, well, I've always tried something new, and I've never been married. I never thought I'd get married, but I just said, yes, let's try this. So we were married for 28 years till he died 15 years ago. And it was an interesting link between the straight world of medicine, but he had his mind a little open, and my alternative world of what's now called complementary medicine, but at the time was called alternative medicine. So we were quite a pair. And I had a stroke at age 53 and retired from traveling and teaching and became an image consultant and a home stager. And I did that for 5 years. But I had become an alcoholic around in my 50s, following in my father's footsteps. And I got sober 13 years ago, 3 years after he died. And I'm living this very full, retired life. I've gotten into improv theater, and that consumes my time. So I've always been that independent woman, and I knew it somehow in my soul that that's what I was and am. And since I lived alone till I was 35, I've gone right back into happily living alone and have a community in AA and a widespread international community in improv thanks to COVID. That's the only good thing I can see coming out of it. And I guess the woman I was most influenced by was myself. Sounds a little self-centered, but it's just grown out of me. And I'm finally happy. I don't know what happened, but age helps. And I'm so thankful. I'm 76 and I'm so thankful to be this age. It's a wonderful time. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sheila-Merle. What a